Before we start, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It happened in the one place I always thought was safe, our living room. Soft lamplight spilled across the couch, the smell of dinner still faint in the air, and I was flipping through channels like any regular evening. That's when Erica, my wife of 7 years, crossed her arms and said the words that split the night in two. I was hugged by someone at work today, and I liked it. I didn't understand her at first. I even chuckled. Thought maybe it was a joke. What? I asked, my thumb still on the remote. She didn't laugh. I said I liked it. It felt nice. Warmer than I expected. Safer. That remote slid from my hand and hit the floor with a quiet clack. I stood up slowly. Who? Mark. From HR. She said like she was reporting the weather. We were in the elevator. It was just one of those moments. I stared at her, trying to make sense of what she was actually saying. You're telling me a man hugged you, and instead of brushing it off or backing away, you enjoyed it? She nodded, not looking the least bit sorry. It reminded me what it felt like to be wanted. Those words knocked the wind out of me. You're married, I said, stepping closer. You want to be wanted? What do you think I've been doing this whole time? Providing for us? Taking you to Napa, to Charleston, throwing anniversary dinners, just for kicks? You're a good man, she said quietly. But we've become boring, James. Predictable. My jaw clenched. You're blaming me? For this? She shrugged. I'm just being honest. Honest. My voice cracked like dry wood. You could have been honest 6 months ago when I asked if something fell off, and you said it was just work stress. You could have been honest when you told my mother how solid we were. I didn't know how I felt then, she said. No, I snapped. You just waited until someone made your heart skip a beat, and now suddenly, I'm not enough. Silence fell between us, thick and jagged. She shifted on her feet, then added, I'm not saying I want to leave. I want to feel alive again. I took a long breath and looked her dead in the eyes. Go to the bedroom. Her brows furrowed. What? Just go. I said, cold and steady. I don't want to look at you right now. James, go. She hesitated, but then turned and walked out. I waited until the door clicked shut behind her. And then I sat there, alone on the couch, the TV still flickering soundlessly in front of me, feeling like the whole floor had given out beneath my feet. You see, I've always been the guy who believed in working things out. I'm not dramatic. I'm not impulsive. I fix problems. But that night, something in me cracked. I looked around that quiet living room. The family photos, the dog asleep at the foot of the armchair, the faint scent of lavender from the candle she'd lit earlier, and none of it felt like home anymore. That's when I knew. This wasn't just about a hug. It was about everything that changed when I wasn't looking. The house had never been so quiet. Not even when Erica used to leave town to visit her sister in Atlanta. Even then, there was still the hum of normalcy, the warmth of routine. But now, the silence had shape, edges, like it had taken on a life of its own and settled across the living room beside me, daring me to move. I didn't. The remote sat forgotten on the rug, the TV still flickering through silent commercials. I sat with my elbows on my knees, staring at nothing, just letting the cold realization sink deeper and deeper. Boring. That was the word she'd used. I laughed once. Just one, hollow laugh that startled even me. You ever think, I said to the room, that loving someone so much might actually push them away? I was talking to no one. But maybe for the first time in years, I was actually speaking to myself. I'd worked hard. Really hard. Not just in my job. I'm a logistics manager, which might not sound sexy, but it kept a roof over our heads and a decent car in the garage. I never missed anniversaries. Never forgot her birthday. I booked little weekend trips. Savannah. Sedona. Hell, I even took up hiking because she said she liked active couples. And we'd laughed, hadn't we? There was a time she'd bury her face in my shoulder just to hide how hard she was giggling. We used to dance in the kitchen to that one Fleetwood Mac song on Sunday mornings. So how does that become boring? I leaned back slowly, my hand running through my hair as I exhaled long and low. It wasn't the hug that hurt the most. It was the way she said it. Soft. Measured. Like she'd rehearsed it. Like it was a statement she needed to get out, not because it hurt her, but because she'd already made peace with it. She didn't come to me with guilt. She came to me with permission. Feel alive again, I muttered bitterly. At what cost, Erica? The room didn't answer. Just the soft, mechanical clicking of the kitchen clock, like a slow countdown to something I couldn't name yet. I looked toward the hallway. The bedroom door was shut. I didn't want to follow her. Not because I was angry, though I was, but because I didn't know who she was anymore. And honestly, I didn't know what she thought I was. A provider? A routine? A placeholder? That was the moment something shifted in my chest. Subtle at first, a kind of sharpness. Like the edges of who I used to be were coming back into focus. I'd spent so long softening myself to be what Erica needed. Patient, even-keeled, the listener, the forgiver, the planner, the guy who made it easy to love. But now I was wondering if easy had quietly turned into invisible. If all the effort I'd poured into being dependable had made me blend into the walls of her life. Kindness, had it become weakness? I remembered this old line my grandfather used to say when I was a kid. People don't leave because they're unhappy. They leave because they think there's something better out there. That was it, wasn't it? She didn't hate me. She didn't even seem conflicted. She just wanted something more. Something that I wasn't anymore, or maybe never was. And if that's true, then every sacrifice I made, all the little things, they weren't seen as love. They were seen as the bare minimum. A chill ran down my spine as that thought locked into place. Something had broken tonight. Quietly, without ceremony. And the scariest part? It hadn't even shattered. It just slipped, like a photo off the edge of a shelf, and neither of us tried to catch it. The morning after, I didn't speak to her. I made coffee. 2 mugs, out of habit. Hers sat on the counter until the steam curled away and left it lukewarm and untouched. She came into the kitchen half an hour later, hair tied up, wearing the navy sweater I'd bought her last Christmas. The one she'd said felt like a hug. The irony wasn't lost on me. "Morning," she said, her voice gentle, testing the waters. I didn't look up from the eggs I was scrambling. She lingered a second, then added, "I had weird dreams last night. Kept waking up." I cracked a second egg into the pan, watched the yolk slide in and settle. "You were quiet when you came to bed," she tried again. "I was tired," I said, flat and distant. She blinked, but nodded. That was the beginning. The following days were filled with small, cold changes. I answered her questions, sure, but never with warmth. Never with curiosity. She'd ask how work was, and I'd say fine. She'd tell me a story from her day, and I'd respond with, "Sounds thrilling." Once, she tried to playfully flick a dish towel at me while I was drying the plates. "You used to do this all the time," she said with a hopeful grin. I stepped away, not flinching, just avoiding. "Yeah, back when it was funny." The smile dropped off her face like it was never there. And it wasn't that I was being cruel. I wasn't shouting, slamming doors, or icing her out entirely. I was doing something quieter. Something she didn't recognize right away. I was letting her talk, and giving her nothing to bounce off of. No spark. No softness. Just the emotional version of a brick wall. Erica tried little things at first. She left my favorite chips in the pantry. Made grilled salmon Tuesday night, the way I liked it. Lit candles in the dining room. I ate in silence, then stacked my plate in the dishwasher and went straight to the bedroom. No thank you. No compliment. Just gone. That Thursday night, as I walked past the living room, I caught her sitting on the couch with her knees tucked under her. She had 2 mugs in her hands this time. "Thought you might want tea," she said, lifting one slightly. "Chamomile." I took it from her. Sat on the opposite end of the couch. We stared at the TV for a while, neither of us really watching. An old sitcom played, canned laughter echoing through the room. She glanced sideways at me. "Remember when we used to stay up late binge-watching this show?" I nodded once. "Before you got bored of everything." Her body stiffened slightly, but she tried to hide it. "James, I didn't mean, you did." I cut in, still not looking at her. "You just didn't think I'd take it seriously." She didn't answer after that, and that was the most clarity I'd had in years. For so long, I tried to fill every gap between us with comfort, soft words, safe gestures. I thought I was holding us together. But now, I saw the truth of it. I was padding her world. Now that the padding was gone, she was left sitting in the raw space of her own choices. Erica started studying me more, the way I moved, the tone I used, how my replies never carried that familiar weight anymore. Like I'd become a man speaking English in a different dialect. And I didn't try to make her comfortable with it. I wanted her to feel it, that she'd nudged something loose inside me, that whatever version of James she'd been married to before was no longer available. Not for comfort, not for reconciliation, not even for tea. It was supposed to be harmless. A rooftop garden bar, string lights, soft jazz. Coworkers pretending they weren't checking emails in their heads. I arrived late. On purpose. Erica was already there, laughing too loudly near the glass railing. She wore a light blue dress I hadn't seen before. New. That should have told me something. I was halfway through scanning the crowd when I saw it. Her. In his arms. Not brushing past. Not a polite greeting. A full embrace. His hand rested on her lower back. Hers lingered at his shoulder. And then, the pause. Too long. Familiar. I stopped walking. Someone behind me said, "James. Over here." But the words slid right past me. I waited. Counted in my head. 1, 2, 3. They still didn't separate. I walked straight toward them. Erica noticed me first. Her smile faltered for half a second. "James," she said, pulling away. "You made it." I looked at the man next to her. Mid-30s. Confident posture. Easy grin. I already knew who he was. "Mark," I said. Not a question. He nodded, unfazed. "Hey man, good to finally meet you." I didn't take his hand. "Enjoying yourself?" I asked Erica. She crossed her arms slightly. Defensive. "It's a party. That's the point." "Interesting," I said calmly. "Because that looked more like a reunion." Mark chuckled awkwardly. "Relax, it was just a hug." I turned to him slowly. "I wasn't talking to you." Erica sighed. "Here we go. Here we go." I repeated. "You tell me you enjoyed being held by another man. Then you do this in public. And I'm the problem?" "You're always the problem," she snapped. "You suck the life out of every room. No passion. No edge. You stand there judging instead of living." A few nearby coworkers went quiet. "Living," I echoed. "Is that what you call this?" Mark stepped in slightly. "Look, man." I took one step closer. "Step back." He didn't. "James, don't," Erica warned. "Don't what?" I asked her, eyes still on him. "Don't notice? Don't react? That's your real issue, isn't it?" Mark smirked. "That was the mistake. You should lighten up," he said. "She's right. You're kind of boring." That word again. I smiled, not because it was funny, but because something clicked into place. "Say it again," I told him. "What?" he scoffed. "Say it again," I repeated. Calm. Dead calm. Erica grabbed my arm. "James, stop. You're embarrassing me." I gently removed her hand. "No. This part's for him." Mark rolled his shoulders. "You gonna do something, or just stare?" I leaned in close enough for only him to hear. "You're standing in my marriage," I said quietly. "And you're about to step out of it." He laughed, short and sharp, and shoved my shoulder. That was enough. I pushed him back, hard. A table tipped. Glass shattered. Someone shouted. Security moved fast, but not fast enough. Mark swung. I blocked. Another shove. Another voice yelling my name. "James!" Erica screamed. Hands grabbed my arms. Someone dragged Mark away in the opposite direction. The music stopped. Breathing heavy, I straightened my jacket and looked at Erica one last time. Her face wasn't angry. It was shocked. And for the first time in days, I felt completely clear. It was late when she came into the bedroom. I was sitting on the edge of the bed, still in my button-down, the bruised knuckles on my right hand resting quietly in my lap. The hotel room was silent except for the low hum of traffic below and the muted clink of ice melting in the glass I hadn't touched. She stood in the doorway, her arms crossed, eyes scanning me like I was someone she'd only just started seeing for the first time. "You didn't have to go that far," she said softly. I didn't move. No one got hurt. He flew backwards into a table. He got up. She stepped further in. "You made a scene." I looked at her then. "So did you." She opened her mouth, then closed it. Her heels clicked across the hardwood as she slowly walked to the chair near the bed and sat down, watching me in a silence I didn't rush to fill. "You know," she finally said, "I always thought you'd let someone like Mark walk all over you." I said nothing. "I thought you'd just stand there. Get quiet. Swallow it. Like always." I turned my gaze toward the window, the city lights casting her reflection faintly in the glass. "But you didn't," she added. "You shoved him. You stared him down like he didn't scare you at all." Still, I stayed quiet. That was, she searched for the word. Unexpected. I let a beat pass. Courageous. I offered. Brutal? Something like that? She tilted her head. "You've never looked at me like that before. Not like that. Like you were the one deciding what happened next." "I was," I said simply. She exhaled. Not dramatic, just long. Thoughtful. "It was strangely attractive," she said. That made me smile. Just barely. I turned to face her, voice calm. You're more attracted to me now than you were a week ago. She didn't answer. Say it, I said. Her eyes didn't flinch. I am. Because I stopped chasing, I said. Because I let you feel the absence. Erica leaned forward, elbows on her knees. You've changed. No, I replied. I just stopped hiding the version of me that's been waiting behind the glass. She studied me for a long moment. Then why now? I met her eyes. Because I realized I don't need to be soft to keep peace. Not when softness is seen as background noise. She leaned back slowly. I didn't think I'd feel this way. But you do, I said. Another silence stretched between us, but this one was different. Not cold, just tense, unresolved. Her voice came again, quieter now. Do you still want me? I stood and walked over to the window. Looked down at the blur of traffic and light. That's not the right question, I said. She waited. The question is, do I still need you? When I turned back around, she was looking up at me like she didn't know which answer would hurt more. And I wasn't about to make it easier for her. The next morning, the air was clearer than it had any right to be. Cool breeze off the river, steady traffic hum in the distance. Just enough noise to remind me I was still standing, still breathing, still in control of what came next. I didn't call ahead. Kyle never needed that from me. He was the kind of guy who always left a chair open and a coffee hot, just in case life decided to fall apart for someone he cared about. James, he said as soon as I stepped into his office. No tie today, just a dark blazer and rolled sleeves. Casual, but sharp. I gave a quiet nod, stepping into the glass-paneled space overlooking the street below. Framed degrees lined the wall. A signed photo of him shaking hands with some congressmen. A framed newspaper headline. Local attorney wins landmark custody case. You want to talk or get straight to it? Kyle asked. I sat down across from him. Leather chair. Same one I'd sat in 3 years ago when I needed help drawing up a will after Dad passed. Back then, I still believed in things holding together if you loved them enough. Today, I was here for something else. He handed me a mug before I could ask. Still black, 2 sugars? Still, I said, accepting it. He waited, patient. I'm tired, I started, of pretending to be someone I'm not, just to hold together something that's already fallen apart. Kyle didn't blink, just leaned back, fingers laced together, listening. I kept thinking maybe if I worked harder, softened the edges, compromised one more time, maybe it would fix itself. He gave a slow nod. You and the rest of the planet. But it didn't, I said. It only got worse. And last night, I paused. The memory of Erica's wide eyes, Mark's laugh, the impact of my hand pushing him backward, it all replayed without sound. I didn't feel like a monster, I said finally. I felt like myself. For the first time in a long time. Kyle raised an eyebrow. And that's when you knew? That's when I knew I was done handing over the wheel just to keep peace. He reached into his desk drawer, slid out a fresh folder, and set it down between us. Then let's start. My eyes lingered on it. The weight of it. Not heavy in pages, but in meaning. I'm not doing this to punish her, I said. I didn't think you were. I'm doing it to remember who I was before I started shrinking myself down. Kyle opened the folder and started writing. You want to talk custody? No kids, I said. Just division. The house. The accounts. And her reaction? She doesn't know yet. He didn't look up. She will. I took a slow sip of coffee. She told me last night that seeing me like that, assertive, made her feel drawn to me again. Kyle smiled without warmth. Isn't that something? I leaned back in the chair, the faint ache in my knuckles reminding me of where I'd been, what I'd come through. Funny thing is, I said, she didn't realize it wasn't strength I'd just discovered. It was strength I'd been holding back. Kyle finished the first form, looked up at me. She's going to try to talk you down, he said. She'll use guilt, nostalgia, promises, the whole playbook. I know. Do you need time to think? No, I said firmly. If I wait again, I'll just find another way to excuse her. He tapped the folder lightly. All right, man. This is the beginning of the end. I nodded. No, I said. This is the end of pretending. That evening, the house smelled faintly of citrus, one of those candles Erica liked to light when she was trying to make things feel fresh. Clean. Peaceful. She was already on the couch when I walked in, legs curled under her, a blanket draped across her lap. The TV was on, some muted drama flickering across the screen, but her eyes weren't on it. She looked up as I dropped my keys on the console. Hey, she said softly. I gave a short nod. Hey. I didn't sit right away. Took my time hanging my coat, pulling off my shoes. I felt her eyes on me the entire time. When I finally joined her, I sat at the far end of the couch. She hesitated a beat, then reached for the remote and muted the TV completely. I've had a rough week, she started. I didn't reply. She went on anyway. There's been a shift at work. New department head. People getting moved around, budgets being cut. It's chaos. And honestly, I feel like I'm barely holding on. I glanced at her. She looked tired, not just from work, but from carrying around whatever it was she still hadn't said. I guess I just needed to say it out loud, she added, voice quieter now. That I'm overwhelmed. That I'm scared. I nodded once. Okay. She blinked. Okay. Yeah. You don't have anything else to say? No, I said. Not really. The silence stretched thin. I thought you might. I don't know. Ask me how I'm coping. Or say something. You've got coworkers for that. I replied, not unkindly, just factually. She turned toward me fully now, confusion edging into her voice. So you're just going to sit there? I am sitting here. You know what I mean. I met her gaze. I used to lean in when you were stressed. I used to listen, validate, reassure. It never made a difference. Her voice sharpened. That's not fair, isn't it? I said, standing up. The second someone else hugged you, my support, everything I poured into this, became invisible. So no, I don't have comforting words tonight. Not for someone who didn't find my comfort worth staying loyal for. She looked like she wanted to argue, but the words didn't come. Instead, she just said, I miss how we used to be. I paused halfway to the hallway, hand resting on the wall. No, Erica, you miss how I used to be. And with that, I walked out, leaving her in the soft glow of the television, alone with her thoughts. The power shift wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet and absolute. Before we move on, tap like if this is landing for you. It was just after dinner when she tried again. I had set the plates in the sink, rinsed them without a word, and moved to the dining table with my laptop, reviewing documents from Kyle. The final stack, clean, concise, unemotional. The last chapter written in black ink. Erica stood near the kitchen island, arms folded, watching me. She hadn't said much during dinner. Her appetite had barely shown up. I figured she was working up to something. She cleared her throat. Do you have a minute? I closed the laptop slowly and looked up. Sure. She walked over, sat down across from me, resting her forearms on the table like this was a peace summit. For a moment, she didn't speak. Then, softly, I've been thinking about the other night, and about everything since. I stayed quiet. She pressed on. You've changed. I nodded once. I have. Her lips curved in a small, hesitant smile. It surprised me. Honestly, it woke me up. The way you handled Mark. The way you've been these past few days. Direct. Unapologetic. I kept my expression neutral, letting her talk. She took a slow breath. I know it sounds strange after everything, but I think I'm falling in love with you again. There it was. I didn't flinch. Didn't blink. I reached down beside me, opened my leather briefcase, and pulled out the folder. Quietly, I slid it across the table between us. Her eyes moved to it immediately, then back up to me. What's this? I leaned back in the chair. Read the top page. She opened the folder with trembling hands. Scanned it. Her shoulders stiffened. Divorce? She whispered. It's over, Erica. She looked up, stunned. You're not serious. I am. She pushed the folder back toward me, voice rising. You said I'm more attracted to you now. You saw it. You felt it. I saw it, I said calmly. And I'm not interested in earning it anymore. But I'm here, she said, voice cracking. I'm trying. I'm telling you how I feel. You're reacting, I corrected, to losing the version of me you could control. Her mouth opened, then closed again. She shook her head slowly, disbelief clouding her face. I didn't expect this. I know. I thought we'd work through this. You thought, I said, that I'd mistake your interest for commitment. Her voice turned pleading. James, I'm telling you I see you differently now. And I'm telling you, I said, I'm done fighting to be seen at all. Silence fell, heavy as a brick wall between us. She stared at the folder, then at me, searching for softness, a loophole, some signal that this wasn't really happening. But there wasn't one. Her voice dropped. You're really not coming back from this, are you? I looked her straight in the eye. No. For the first time in a long time, she looked small, and I didn't feel the urge to reach across the table and rescue her from it. She reached for the folder again, ran her fingertips along the edge like maybe, if she touched it enough, it would become less real. This wasn't supposed to happen, she whispered. I stood and gathered the folder. But it did. As I walked past her, I felt her watching me. Not with anger, not with pride, but with a kind of stunned, quiet grief. And this time, I didn't turn around. The next night, the house was quiet, not in that cold, distant way it had been lately, but in a way that felt suspended, like everything was holding its breath. I sat on the living room couch, a novel in my hands, reading under the floor lamp, not really absorbing the words, not needing to. It was the silence that interested me now, how still it had all become when the power shifted. I heard her long before I saw her. Soft footsteps in the hallway. A pause. Then another step. She appeared in the doorway, hands clasped nervously in front of her. No makeup. Hair tied back. Just Erica. Stripped down. Honest looking, for once. She didn't sit right away. Do you have a minute? She asked. I turned a page. I'm listening. She crossed the room slowly, cautiously, like I might vanish if she moved too fast. She sat down on the far end of the couch, knees drawn slightly together, body angled toward me. I know I already said a lot yesterday, she began, her voice soft. And I know, you didn't respond the way I expected. I kept reading. But I've been thinking about everything. About us, she continued. About the way I've handled things. And I need to say some things you deserve to hear. I said nothing. Just let the silence settle again, making her feel it. I'm sorry, she said, her voice cracking. For the way I dismissed you. For the way I minimized everything you did. For me. For us. Still, I didn't speak. You never deserved that. You were always there. Every time. I didn't even realize how much of you I'd come to depend on, until I felt it missing. She blinked quickly and looked down at her hands. Her voice was barely above a whisper. I think I got caught up in needing things to feel exciting. I thought love had to look a certain way, passionate, unpredictable. And when our life felt stable, safe, I thought that meant something was wrong. But now I see, that was the best part of what we had. You made everything feel like home. I finally looked at her, briefly. She took that as hope. I miss it, she said. I miss you. The way you made my coffee every morning without asking. The way you rubbed my shoulder on long drives without even thinking about it. The way you'd let me vent about work, even when I was being ridiculous. Her eyes were glassy now. I know I said I felt bored. But I wasn't bored, James. I was blind. I closed the book gently and set it on the coffee table. She leaned forward, her voice barely holding steady. I'm asking you not to do this. Not yet. We've been through too much to end it like this. Please, let's start over. We don't have to fix everything tonight. Just don't file yet. Give us time. She reached for my hand. I pulled it back. The motion was small, not cruel, not dramatic. Just clear. The way her face broke in that moment, it said everything. That was the last hook. The last move she thought might bring me back. And it failed. I meant what I said. I replied quietly. But we can still. No, I said, cutting her off. What you feel right now, it's not love. It's loss. They're different. Tears slipped down her cheeks as she tried to find the next line, the next memory to use, the next apology to try. But I'd heard them all before. And the strings were snapped. I can change, she whispered. I already did, I said. I picked the book back up, found my page. She sat there for a few more seconds, quietly crying, the way I used to, alone, in the dark, when she'd walk away mid-conversation or laugh off my hurt like it was a misplaced feeling. Now, the weight was in her lap, and I had nothing left to carry for her. The courtroom was colder than I expected. Not the temperature, the atmosphere. Quiet. Stiff. The kind of quiet that makes even the sound of a chair shifting feel like a crack of thunder. I sat beside Kyle, hands clasped loosely in my lap, eyes fixed forward. Erica was across the aisle, flanked by a sharp-suited attorney who looked like he practiced every smirk in a mirror. She looked smaller than usual. No makeup, hair tied back too tightly. A folder clutched in both hands like it might save her. But it wouldn't. The judge adjusted her glasses and called us to order. Kyle stood first, smooth and calm as ever. Your Honor, we're submitting documented internal reports from the defendant's workplace. confirming multiple formal HR complaints regarding inappropriate conduct with a colleague. We also have time-stamped photographs, gathered with consent, as well as written statements from employees who witnessed repeated instances of personal contact during work hours, including the company event where the altercation occurred. He passed the folder forward. The bailiff took it. The judge opened it. Erica's lawyer objected immediately. This is character assassination. It has no bearing on the dissolution of assets. Kyle didn't flinch. On the contrary, it speaks directly to the timeline of emotional misconduct and patterns of behavior that directly impacted the deterioration of this marriage. My client was blamed for boredom while she pursued emotional entanglements under the guise of workplace friendships. The judge looked at the photos, one of which showed Mark and Erica leaning against a hallway wall, far too close. Another at the rooftop party, her arms still wrapped around his neck, long after a greeting would have ended. Erica's face paled. Her lawyer tried again. We argue this is circumstantial at best. The judge raised a hand. Enough. I've seen plenty, she said, flipping the folder closed. Then her gaze moved to Erica. Mrs. Alden, do you deny these interactions occurred? Erica hesitated. Her mouth opened, closed. She looked to her lawyer, then to me. I didn't blink. No, she whispered finally. I don't deny it. The judge nodded. Then let's proceed. The rest unraveled fast. Kyle laid out the financial records, clean, transparent. My earnings, my savings, her withdrawal history. She had no counter-evidence, no hidden assets, nothing substantial to leverage, just emotional spin and a weak claim of dissatisfaction. When it came time to divide property, the judge didn't hesitate. The marital home will be awarded to Mr. Alden, as per the stability of his income and demonstrated maintenance of the property. Erica's shoulders sank. Retirement assets will remain in Mr. Alden's name. Her lips parted slightly, as if she were still catching up to the speed of her own undoing. No alimony awarded. The court finds no grounds. By the time the gavel struck wood, it didn't sound like a judgment. It sounded like a door closing. Kyle patted my shoulder. I rose to my feet. Erica didn't. She stared at the table in front of her, blinking hard, frozen in a silence that used to belong to me. Outside the courthouse, the sun was brighter than expected. Kyle and I stepped onto the concrete steps as a light breeze passed through. He glanced sideways at me. You all right? I let out a slow breath, the kind that had waited too long to leave my chest. Yeah, I said. For the first time in years, yeah. 3 days later, I found myself in a small bar tucked off a side street near the train station. Dim lights, old wood, that faint smell of lemon oil and stories. The kind of place that didn't try too hard to be anything. It just was. Kyle was already there, seated at the corner booth, nursing something dark and steady. He looked up as I slid in across from him. No tie, he said with a grin. That's a good sign. No papers in my bag, either, I replied. Even better. He flagged the bartender with 2 fingers. Whiskey for him. Neat. You remembered, I said. Hard to forget when I had to watch you fake like you liked wine for 7 years. I smirked. Fair. The drink arrived. I took a slow sip. It burned in all the right places. For a while, we didn't say much. We just listened to the low buzz of conversations, the hum of glasses being stacked behind the bar. Then Kyle leaned forward. How's the house feel now? Quieter, I said. But the kind that feels earned. Like peace, not punishment. He nodded slowly. I swirled the glass in my hand, watching the amber light catch the surface. You know, I said, pretending to be what she needed so she wouldn't be bored, that was killing me. Slowly, quietly, in ways I didn't even notice. Kyle let out a long breath. That's the trap, man. We adjust ourselves so many times trying to be the fix, we forget who we were before the cracks even showed up. I raised my glass a little. To remembering. He tapped his glass against mine. To real people. We drank. And in that small, quiet moment, no drama, no papers, no arguments. I felt something settle deep in my chest. Not revenge, not regret, just freedom. And that was the end of my story. Erica said she only hugged him, but she let it linger, long enough to know it meant more. So let me ask you, when she realized she was losing control and tried to win me back with apologies and old memories, did she do the right thing, or was it just too late? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every one. And hey, if this hit something real for you, Make sure to like and subscribe for more stories like this.